The rain had just begun to fall, soft and hesitant, as if even the sky couldn't decide whether to cry. Elena Rodriguez stood behind the counter at Ralston Pharmacy, her name tag slightly crooked and her dark curls pinned into a bun that had started to come loose after a long shift. At 34, she had spent the last 10 years working this job, not because it paid well, but because it was stable, familiar. And after losing her husband to cancer 3 years earlier, stability was the only thing keeping her from crumbling. She had a daughter, Sophia, to raise. She couldn't afford chaos. But sometimes, chaos doesn't ask permission. It happened so fast, no one in the quiet Brooklyn neighborhood saw it coming. The bell above the pharmacy door had just jingled to signal a new customer when the sound was shattered by a gunshot, sharp, cruel, echoing down the street like a nightmare. Screams erupted outside, and without thinking, Elena dashed from behind the counter, instinct propelling her feet. Across the street, a boy lay crumpled on the sidewalk. 10 years old, maybe younger. His white shirt was quickly staining red around the chest. People screamed, ducked, ran, but Elena ran toward him. Her breath caught in her throat as she knelt beside him. His brown eyes were wide with terror. "I'm here, sweetheart. Stay with me," she whispered, tearing off her work apron and pressing it against the wound. The sirens were still blocks away. Time was the enemy. A woman screamed nearby, "That's my son. That's my baby." Elena glanced up at the distraught mother, then turned back to the boy. His lips were turning pale. "Talk to me," Elena said urgently. "What's your name?" Liam," he whimpered. "You're going to be okay, Liam. I promise. Just breathe with me." Her hands were soaked in his blood, but she pressed harder, kept him conscious, sang softly to him. An old lullaby her mother once sang to her in Spanish. By the time the paramedics arrived, Elena's knees were bruised, her shirt soaked, her heart racing. She watched as they lifted Liam into the ambulance, his mother clutching his hand, sobbing. "Thank you," the woman choked out, gripping Elena's arm. "You saved him. God, you saved my son." Elena nodded, unable to speak through the tightness in her throat. But the real blow came the next morning. She walked into the pharmacy, exhausted but hopeful, only to be called into the manager's office. Mr. Talbot, who had barely spoken to her in years, sat with his arms crossed, face tight. "You left the store unattended during a shift," he said coldly. "That's a violation of protocol." "I'm sorry, Elena. We have to let you go." Her mouth opened, then closed. "I was saving a child's life. I understand that, but we have procedures. Liability is liability." And just like that, 10 years gone. Her job, gone. Her health insurance, gone. Her daughter's tuition, uncertain. She stepped out into the cold morning, jobless and humiliated, the injustice clawing at her chest. Her phone buzzed. A news alert: unknown woman saves boy shot in crossfire, hero identified. She silenced it. She didn't feel like a hero. She felt like a fool. By noon, reporters had found her apartment. She declined every interview. She wasn't interested in cameras. She hadn't acted to be recognized. She just couldn't let a child bleed to death. That evening, as she made soup with the last of their groceries, Sophia sat beside her, watching silently. "I'm proud of you, Mama," her daughter whispered. Elena forced a smile, brushing a tear away. The next morning came with a knock at the door. She opened it cautiously to find a sharply dressed man in a black suit. "Are you Elena Rodriguez?" "Yes. I'm with the office of the President of the United States. The President would like to personally invite you to the White House." She blinked. "What? Why?" He smiled. "To honor you. For extraordinary civilian bravery." Washington, D.C., was a blur. She sat beside Liam and his mother in the East Room of the White House, surrounded by press, lawmakers, and veterans. The president, warm, commanding, approached the podium. In a world often divided by fear, anger, and hesitation, one woman reminded us what it means to be human. When others fled, she stepped forward. Without thought for her own safety or her job, she saved the life of a boy she'd never met. Today, we recognize Elena Rodriguez as a true American hero. Thunderous applause filled the room as Elena stood, tears trailing down her cheeks. Later, the president handed her a civilian Medal of Honor, his eyes kind. "We need more people like you," he said quietly. "Your sacrifice won't be forgotten." She nodded, speechless, humbled. But the real surprise came that evening, when a representative from a national pharmacy chain approached her. "We'd be honored to have you as our director of community health programs," the woman said. "We need leaders who act with heart." Elena's mouth fell open. I don't have a degree in leadership." "You have something better," the woman replied. "You have integrity, compassion, and the courage to act when it matters most." Months later, Elena found herself leading initiatives to provide health access in underserved communities. Her daughter often joined her at weekend clinics, handing out vitamins, smiling with pride. Liam recovered fully. He and Elena remained close. Every year on the anniversary of that day, he and his mother visited her, bringing sunflowers and gratitude. "I want to be a nurse," Liam told her one year. "Like you were. I want to help people." Elena smiled. "You already do. Sometimes, life tears away what you've built. Sometimes, doing the right thing costs you everything. But sometimes, in losing what you thought you needed, you gain something far more meaningful." Elena didn't ask to be a hero. She only knew that a boy was bleeding, and someone had to save him. And in choosing love over fear, compassion over protocol, she didn't just save a life, she inspired a nation. Because real heroes don't wear capes. Sometimes, they wear name tags. And sometimes, they lose everything, only to find they were born for something greater.